red means stop. Green means go. Everybody knows that. In a scene from a TV sitcom in the 80s, Taxi, Jim, the burned-out former junkie cab driver, asked another character, well, what does the yellow light mean? As if he didn't know. I mean, he should have known. He was a cab driver. But anyway, the answer was, slow down. Jim responded out of his usual fog, what does the yellow light mean? If you know that series, you can't help but laugh. You can see his face, you can hear him saying. Frederick Buechner, in his book Whistling in the Dark, wrote, the extraordinary thing that is about to happen is matched only by the extraordinary moment just before it happens. Advent is the name of that moment. Advent is the yellow light telling us to slow down. We don't think of Advent as a moment. We think of it as 4 weeks, which go way too quickly for all the stuff we have to do. But perhaps it is a moment in God's time. In God's time. It is a time when we may prepare ourselves for something that we both anticipate and something that is also unexpected. The first time, we anticipate. We know what that's about. We have the story. The unexpected is when God crashes in on us out of the blue, so to speak. We all know quite well the story of Jesus' birth. We've heard it repeated since our earliest childhood days, at least most of us. Advent is for, well, it's for decorating. It's for sending out Christmas cards. It's for shopping for all those gifts and putting up the tree. It's for caroling and partying and pageant rehearsals and concerts and on and on and on and on. There are so many things that we do in Advent. It's one of the busiest, if not the busiest, times of the whole year. But Advent is the yellow light. It's the sign that we are supposed to slow down and watch and wait for the inbreaking of God into our ordinary, everyday lives. We all know how easy it is to get distracted. Maybe you're talking with someone and they're going on and on and on, and you've zoned out because you have other things, more important things to think about, and you're not really doing anything other than kind of nodding and going, It might even happen during, a sermon maybe? Not that any of you, of course, would zone out during one of my wonderful sermons, but, it happens. It happens. But the world is that distraction. The world really doesn't want us to slow down. The world, if anything, urges us to hurry up, to get everything done as soon as possible. Maybe we can do even more if we hurry a little bit more and let the world lead us. Shopping on Thanksgiving Day began for many. And then there was Black Friday. And then there was Small Business Saturday. And tomorrow is Cyber Monday. And hurry up, buy all those things that you want. Don't worry about whether you need them, just buy them. We're counting down the days until the big day. We're not waiting for anything. It's not as though we don't know what the big day will bring, right? I mean, we've got our lists, we know. But what about the extraordinary moment that we're in right now? The before time, before the big day, the extraordinary moment that is Advent. Isn't God already here, present in our everyday lives? Have eyes not seen, have ears not heard of all the miraculous things taking place in the world today? Well, mostly we're distracted by the bad news, the bad things that the world tells us about, the snowstorms, the horrendous floods and fires, the wars going on everywhere, the disease that is spreading, the poverty, the violence, the hatred. The bad news can be so overwhelming. the ongoing stream of words and pictures can be so debilitating that eventually we just block them out. We just don't really even want to know about them or hear about them or anything. We look for the escapes, like shopping, like going to see Santa, like TV, like movies, like games on our little devices, whatever will allow us to not be overwhelmed by all that bad news that seems to be out there all the time at our very doorstep. Lately, the manse has been painted on the inside. The whole inside of the manse, from the 3rd floor all the way down to the basement. It's been painted. Guys have been in there scraping walls and replastering and painting. And I have found that I had to box things up, move things from room to room, take things down off the walls, do this, do that, so that they could move around the house and do the work that they had to do. And it was wonderful, but it was debilitating and terribly distracting. Now that they've finished and I'm reversing the process and unboxing things and trying to figure out where I put them in the first place and hanging things back up, and I mean, the plaster dust is everywhere. They did a great job. They were very good. I'm not faulting them at all. It's just if you've had any of this work done, you know the plaster dust is like the pine needles that are, you find them 3 years later. After you vacuumed 1,500 times, you've still got pine needles. Well, that's the way it is with the plaster dust. I wipe off surfaces and shine them up and go to another room, and I come back and it's like the dust never got wiped off, so I have to wipe it again. So I wipe and I wipe and I wipe, and there seems to be no end to it, and it has distracted me incredibly for the past 3.5 weeks. Thankfully, it's done. It's Advent now. I can focus again on the season. Of course I will decorate and make special foods and go to parties and caroling and shopping and all the rest, but I can kind of sit and just wait and think and hopefully have my eyes and ears open and alert to God's movement in this yellow light season. Paul's words to the church at Corinth seem to me to be to the point and appropriate for us all. And using Eugene Peterson's translation, Paul wrote, I thank God, and he was speaking to the church there, I thank God for your lives of free and open access to God, given by Jesus. There's no end to what has happened in you. It's beyond speech, beyond knowledge. The evidence of Christ has been clearly verified in your lives. Just think, you don't need a thing, you've got it all. All God's gifts are right in front of you as you wait expectantly for our Master Jesus to arrive on the scene for the finale. And not only that, but God himself is right alongside to keep you steady and on track until things are all wrapped up by Jesus. Boy, was I glad to read those words. God is there to keep me on track and steady, because this is a very unsteadying time and world that we live in. So it's nice to know that God is right there. There's no reason to fear that we're alone in this world. We aren't. There's no way that all the bad news is the last word. It isn't. We don't need to escape from this world. There are all kinds of ways that we can participate in the incarnation, God's inbreaking into the world during the season of Advent. So just take a moment and envision that yellow light and breathe deeply and step back enough to see and hear the good news, the things that are already taking place. Be bold and use the gifts you have already been given, remembering you have free and open access to God, who is at your side through all of this. With all the trouble in Ferguson, Missouri, the confrontations between the police and the black community there, with all the fires that got set and the protests around the country in various cities and the speeches and the angry rhetoric following the grand jury's findings, still there was the family of the young man who had been killed and they were calling for peace and nonviolent protest. And yesterday online there was a beautiful picture of a young African-American woman in Ferguson hugging a policeman, a white policeman. They were hugging. What a great picture. Hope lives. And with it, reconciliation and greater justice may yet prevail. Last Sunday here, there was a beautiful community interfaith Thanksgiving service. 8 clergy and leaders of faith communities representing Christian churches, Jewish synagogues and temples, and the Sikh Forum were all participating in that service, and many of their congregants were here. And the Sikh children came and played and sang in their traditional language, and afterwards we all shared in fellowship. And despite the divisions that the world wants to raise up and the fears that are stoked by lack of understanding and knowledge of other cultures, we all came together. We all hugged one another. We all shared refreshments and conversation in gratitude and celebration of the blessings that we all share as children of one God. It was a great service. It was a great evening. And then there came this story from the Long Island Council of Churches December newsletter. The Seventh-day Adventist Church, the National Association of Evangelicals, the Union of Reformed Judaism, the Christian Legal Society, the American Jewish Committee, and the Sikh Coalition have filed a Friend of the Court brief supporting a Muslim woman who was denied a sales job at Abercrombie and Fitch because she wore a hijab, in keeping with her faith's emphasis on modesty and attire. You know, the hijab that goes over the head. The chain, the stores, has since changed its policy on headwear. We are one world, and with God at our side, we can live that way. We can. It is possible. On Saturday, December 13th, the Seventh-day Adventist congregation that meets here in our church every week has invited all of us to come and have lunch with them. They will prepare the lunch in the parish hall, and we're invited to come beginning around 12:30. They're reaching out to us to build a greater relationship, and I do hope that all of you will come and that you'll share that news with others of our congregation who aren't here this morning, because this is a wonderful opportunity to grow in our knowledge and understanding of these people who worship in our sanctuary every week and have for years. And then on the 20th, we can go to my house for an open house and get to know one another better. It's just ways that we need to work at and be more open to and keep our eyes and ears alert to, because these are the ways that God is drawing us together as one people. Jesus told his disciples that one day they would see the Son of Man coming in clouds with great power and glory. But about that day or hour, no one knows. Neither the angels in heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. It's not important for us to know when this Advent season truly comes to an end. But it is important that we slow down, that we make sure we are open and watchful for the multitude of ways in which God is already breaking into this world. Those buds are on the fig tree, so to speak. They're out there. We can see them if we have eyes to see and ears to hear. So do not be distracted by the busyness of this world, but focus on what God is doing and what God is inviting us to do, so that we may actually find that babe in the manger, wherever we are. Let us all share this extraordinary moment of Advent. And let me end with this prayer. God, in those moments just before dawn, the earth is silent, holding its breath, waiting. And it is just as well that things are quiet, for the dawn that comes with Advent steals in on a baby's warm, milky breath. Give me strong silence, God, deep silence. Give me the quiet that can calm